Hello and welcome everybody to this call. This is Jacob Hartley, and today we have a very special guest on the call with us, and I'll announce him in just a minute. But first of all, I just want to welcome each and every one of you to this call, and just first of all, thank you and tell you how much we appreciate you for all that you do. And IOL just would not be what it is today without our leaders and everybody here on the system, and with everybody promoting the system. So we really appreciate all that you do, and we are having a lot of fun building this business and this company with each and every one of you, and it's been just an absolutely phenomenal time. So I'm going to go over a couple things. First of all, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. He's on the phone with us, but let me give him a little bit of intro. His name is David Werner, and David, he's a 20-year internet veteran. That means he's been around since pretty much when the internet started. I mean, he's a very, very good businessman. He started his first internet company in 1996 from the bedroom of his own house. And as a CEO, he grew that business into a multi-million-dollar nationwide mortgage technology provider, earning him accolades as the inventor of the online and virtual lender system. So he grew that company into a massive company over a 15-year period. His online products powered over thousands of mortgage companies nationwide, and during that time, over $100 billion worth of mortgage loan applications were generated through his platform that he created. And these guys made about over close to $10 million in the process. So he's very, very experienced when it comes to internet technology and running a business, because this is all he's done pretty much most of his business career. David has been recognized by the Utah Business Magazine as one of the Utah's top 40 and under 40 rising stars in business. And he has extensive experience in web business-to-business and B2C technologies, internet marketing, management, and business development. David is also one of the, and we're happy to announce this, that he's also one of the co-founders of IOL, Income Out Loud. And so we are super glad to have David on our team. And David, are you there?
Hey, Jake, I'm here. How are you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic, man. We are so blessed to have you on this call with us, and to you to share with us some of your ideas and expertise with everybody on Income Out Loud and with our leaders. And we're just super excited and grateful to have you with us on the call. So, David, I'm just going to, kind of ask you some questions, kind of get a little bit, pick your brain a little bit. I know that you're very experienced in business development, technology. Why did you choose the internet as like one of your vehicles to generate income? Why the internet?
That's a good question, Jake. Thanks for the intro, by the way. It sounds like somebody typed that out, sent it over to you.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Well, I'm glad to be on the call, you guys, with you tonight. And thanks, Jake, for inviting me out to talk. And I think I'm as excited as Jake is about the future of this company and the opportunity that all of us have, and you have. So I know, Jake, you got some questions, so I'll just see if I can answer them real quick for you. So your question was, why did I pick the internet when I got started in it? And, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. In 1995, I was in real estate investing, and I was in the real estate industry and doing some mortgage loans as well. And I always loved the idea of earning residual income, so we had a lot of rental properties. And I remember, we were managing a bunch of different rental properties, and we would earn this rent, and at the end of the month, we'd have a little bit of a money we could put in our pocket. And that would happen month after month after month. And in our industry, we had some problems at the time. Real estate was moving online, and multiple listing service was kind of moving on the internet. And I kind of looked at that and thought, gee, wouldn't it be cool to solve some problems in this space? So I started working on some technology to do that. And I had to go down to the University of New Mexico and talk with these programmer gurus, and one of them was in Unix coding, and I didn't understand any of that. Netscape was brand new, and I remember the first thing he showed me was, hey, look, you can put a border around a button on your screen. And Netscape's browser had just come out, and when it popped out, that was really cool to look at. But primarily the idea that I could see with the Internet was, if I can create a way that I can solve a problem, put it on the Internet, and I can sell that solution to somebody, then I can earn a residual income, kind of like a rental property. So in my mind, I've always viewed the Internet as property, as real property. So the things that we develop and build, and that you and I and all spend our time on, that we're working on today, is we're building our own intellectual property, our brand, our whatever we're selling, and technology and tools are required to do that. So basically, I got in the business of providing that technology to companies that needed to use those services, and then we found that we were out training. The first thing we had to go do was educate and help people understand how to use them, particularly in our industry. But then we had to wait for the consumers to come around. So I primarily got into it, Jake, because I view it as similar to a piece of real estate. We know that we can create wealth when we own real estate, because the more people we have come into that real estate, if it's a piece of rental property or where it's located is important, the value continues to increase on that, and our residual income can increase as the market rate for rents increase. So it all kind of comes together in the same form of economics. We're just selling virtual space on servers, and the technology that we put on those servers are the property that we're building. So it was real easy to relate to. So it was just as fun as real estate.
So I imagine when you got into the Internet, I mean, obviously nobody knew really what the Internet was or how to use it, and you kind of had to limit. So what was one of your biggest obstacles that you had to overcome when you were getting into the Internet? I mean, what's something that,
So that's a good question. For me, the biggest obstacle was, first of all, I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to begin. So the very first obstacle was education. I didn't know how to do what I wanted to do. The second biggest obstacle was I couldn't talk to very many people about what I wanted to do, because nobody, you always get discredited by a lot of people that are close to you. You go say, hey, I'm going to go do this, I want to change this. The first thing you get met with is resistance. So the challenge was I had to get educated, and then I had to push forward on what I wanted to do, whether somebody else believed in that or not. So I remember back in the days when I had started, and I spent late nights over and over and over again. I mean, I remember one night I spent all night trying to launch this little application I built, and I was the only guy in the entire office the entire night. And in the next morning, I hadn't slept at all, and the rest of the people showed up in the office, and nobody understood why I was so excited at 7 in the morning. And there wasn't anybody to talk to about that. So some of the biggest challenges for me were just getting my head straight, which was I can do this. I can learn about what resources are available, and I can create residual income. Because the saying back then, and I still believe that today, if we can go out and sell one product on the Internet to one person, and another person we can solve a problem, we can do that twice, and we can create twice the income, and that income is residual based, then what we have to look at is how many people are out there now that represent our market share, and let's start doing the numbers. Because if we can do one, we can do two. If we can do two, we can do 10. We used to say if we can do 10, we can do 2,000. And that actually happened, but it kind of took getting my head straight at the time, and then getting that focused, and then deciding from day one that I was never going to quit. And that's another attribute that I learned from some leadership in that space early on that said, you just cannot quit, and you will win. So that was one of the things that was a big driver for me.
Yeah, so, I mean, it sounds like when you first started, usually when we get into Internet marketing or anything we get into, we really don't know what to do. But that's not the obstacle. The obstacle really is where you have to know where you want to go, and the rest is going to fall into place. If you know where you want to go, like you said, you want to build an application, you want to use the internet as real estate. And it really, if you know what and why, if you have your why and what you're trying to achieve, the rest of that will fall into place. The how will come later. And so,
well, it does. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the cool things that I've noticed in my life is just knowing what you want, and then the rest will fall into place. As long as you know what you want and you hold that goal there, and I don't know, it's something that everything just moves out of its way just to make it happen. And,
well, you're right, Jake. There's a lot of truth to that idea, and you hear it put different ways. Some people say that put it out there and the universe brings it back to you, and everybody has kind of their philosophy behind that. But really, we live in a world where if we want to change our future, we can change it. And with technology, I believe that technology is one of the greatest products to sell because we can real-time solve people's problems, and we can enter a market space that solves a problem, whether or not we make it better, deliver it faster, do it at a lower price, or provide better service. We can be a solution to that space. So it's a creative place to be a person engaged in growing a business. There's nothing more rewarding than this. And that mindset that you're talking about where you got to get your head straight and you got to believe you can do it. There's no question about it. If you can't get that part first, then you're going to struggle with everything else.
Yeah. So let's say I'm a new person. I'm looking to get started online. I might have a business that I'm doing with a different company or whatever, but I want to go online because I know using technology and the internet's the future. What would you tell me if I'm a brand new person and I want to get started online?
So let's say that you're brand new and you're going to get into IOL and you want to look at the product. So a couple of things that I would think first is there's a couple of things you can do from an action standpoint. I like to simplify things and break them down so that I don't overwhelm myself with this massive checklist and prioritize it, and then all of a sudden, see, technology can be destructive too because I don't know if you guys have noticed how many times you go on your computer and you're working on something and an email pops up and you go look at the email, there's a link mentioning something about a Yahoo thing and you click on that, next thing you know you're watching a video about something that happened just recently in the news, and then wow, you just got off track quite a bit in that path. So technology also can be a distractor for you, and I think what you have to do is you can't look at this business and think I've got a million things I have to do to make this work. I'm going to start today, and if I do if I do these solo ads and all these things and I have to go out and become the best at this, and then eventually I'm going to reach this point. I don't think that that's a very good approach because there's all kinds of distractions in the middle of that. So what I would say is I'd ask the question, what can I do today where I spend a little bit of time and that I make sure that I start and I finish those tasks. So when it comes to IOL, if I come in, I want to be a product user and use this technology first and foremost to make whatever I'm doing better and more effective. So what I would do is I would look at it first and foremost to say, how can I promote my business with it? And that means that I got to get to know the product. So I'd probably set aside an hour and I'd go into the product itself and I'd learn about how the landing pages work and how do you do an auto email responder, and I would go through that. So the first part of the training, like I said earlier on, when I got into internet, I lacked the education, so I had to go read the books, I had to go sit in the classes, and I had to try things that would not work over and over again. So I'd say the very first thing you do is take some time to understand how the product works and how it can help you, and think about those people around you. I mean, my mom is an author of books, so she started writing books, and she's got 3 books now she's published, and it's pretty amazing. In the book industry, one of the most difficult things to do is to promote your book, and these publishers make all these big promises to these authors, and it's very difficult to get your book out there, and she had a real need for having a capture page that she could put out to targeted markets on Facebook and social media where there's groups there you have authors and people reading books in that particular type. So she was immediately able to take the product and first make it work for her and solve those needs she had. And then it's kind of like, if you're a pilot and you hear on the radio, if the plane starts to have problems and we go down, the oxygen mask on the person next to you, that's your children first, and then put it on yourself first, and then put it on your children. The idea is that you make sure that you use this technology to benefit whatever you're doing in your space first. And I think everyone needs to protect their best interest, and that's growing any business they have. So the second piece of that is I would say, Jake, and this is a long-winded answer, but I would say look at the technology platform and then say, now, I want to be a business builder in this, so what's the first thing I need to do? Well, I need to get this thing connected into my Facebook, and I need to turn on that poster. So I'd say if there's anybody on this platform that's not doing their Facebook auto posting, that's the first step. Turn it on. Begin the process of sharing the opportunity. And then I would say, second to that, take a few minutes and invest in some solo ads or some other forms of putting your link out on the web. And there's a lot of resources available for that. So I would say you just have to begin by configuring your system and doing those first couple of steps and start sharing. And then, of course, it comes back to the more you know about the product and you understand that, the easier it is to talk to people about it, and it's easier it is to talk to your prospects. Because most of the time, even if we get leads, it's hard to get them on the phone and catch right up with them on time, and we still have hurdles to get over in the process of growing the business. So do some short-term things, but think long-term, and plan on continuing to push through those and not quitting.
So what you're saying is, for the new person getting started, is to basically keep it simple. Don't let outside things distract you, and keep focused on what you're doing, and really get to know your product. Really get to know how the system works, and just get those little things out of the way and be consistent. And also, you had also mentioned something as well as to get yourself out there, get your link out there. You can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows you're there, if nobody knows you exist, there's no way for them to find you. There's so many people out there that are looking for what we have, this tool with IOL, and they just don't know where to find it. And we need to be that solution and get ourselves in front of those people. And then once they see it, they'll recognize they need it, and they'll hop right on board. So those are very good things. Now, Dave, what do you, we're on the internet. Everything we do here is internet-based. Why? What do you think is the future of internet marketing? Is it a promising industry? Is it something that'll be here and gone? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, isn't that a great question? I bet you all of us have think back, and the first thing that comes to mind is Facebook, and the kid that started that. And I remember back in the early 2000s when Facebook, I very first heard about it, and Microsoft had just invested $250 million and bought less than 1% or something like that. I remember seeing that and said, that's ridiculous. I can't even believe that somebody has something that's so powerful that a company's willing to back it with that kind of capital for that little percentage. And I didn't quite understand, what that was going to be. Nobody probably really understood until you looked at the mechanics of what was happening in the space. So there's few opportunities that evolved way early on, and these massive companies come out of that because they were dealing with technologies a lot of people didn't understand when they were looking towards the future. So what's interesting is internet marketing and internet advertising kind of evolved from the days back, when we started, which was get your website, get your email. The days we used to give talks in rooms, and I'd ask everybody, how many of you guys have email addresses? Out of 100 people, 8 people would raise their hand, and the other would look around and go, I don't know if I had to get one of those. And then, how many, we used to say, do you guys know that email is going to replace fax machines? And they all went, what? That'll be the day. Well, we've gone so much further now, and the future of internet marketing really comes down to one need. We need to be able to use the technology that's evolving, and we need to be able to engage with prospective customers. And there are so many ways to do that today, and there's so many different sources you can go to. So I think absolutely, Jake, this is probably one of the greatest places to be in. If you look at the internet from a dollars and cents standpoint, which company's making the most money on the internet? Well, we know Google is, and the service Google provides is search. And the way they earn revenue is through advertising, and advertising comes from businesses that want customers. So the entire core of the financial model on the internet commercially is driven from an internet marketing perspective. So, I feel like for the most part, if we can aggregate those tools and simplify them, we can create an interface to deliver that experience to customers and work out bugs and continue developing out a platform that at the end of the day, we will all be in the perfect place at the right time for a global opportunity. I don't think this is just a United States opportunity or a Europe opportunity or an Australian opportunity. This is something that for the first time in history, all of us can participate, and we can develop our own business network around the world. I don't think it definitely wasn't like that 20 years ago. And I think when Facebook was doing it and evolving this, and 99% of us could never be in that space to begin with because we didn't understand it, and we didn't have the financial backing. So today, what we have is we have the ability now to organize the information, organize the tools, and deploy them in an organized way that anybody can do that. So somebody can walk in and knows nothing, and they can go through some training, get their education, they can start utilizing the resource and tools. And yes, you got to work to do that. I think this is just one of the greatest spaces to be in if you're looking for a way to provide a service, fulfill a need, and be around for the next 5 years and capitalize on the world adoption of this need. It's just not a demand that will ever be met completely.
Yeah. So with Income Out Loud, with the tools we have, who would you say that our demographic market is? I mean, when you have a business, usually you have a certain market or a certain niche that you go into. Who would you say our demographic is, and why? That's a good question, because if we looked at it academically and we broke it down by segments in the market and we said, we're targeting this specific group, we would find different users at different levels where there would be certain needs we could fit with the technology. We have companies that are national $100 million companies that are using this system for deploying their capture page campaigns in their marketing departments, and they're doing lead generations in their regions, and there's a lot of this fantastic enterprise use, which is where this technology evolved from. But my personal opinion is that our target market is anybody who has a business or product or service that wants to promote that more effectively is going to have to go out and get these tools, and that's our prospect. And if you go to the IOL Interactive website, we got a neat little a page you can scroll down that talks about our solutions, and about halfway down that page it shows you a section on social marketing, and you'll see these numbers adding up. The very first one says Facebook. It's 1.1 billion users, LinkedIn, X number of users, and you can count these up, and it's over 2 billion people on social networking. So if you were to take it down to the simplest denomination, who are our prospects? Well, they're people that are on the internet and that are communicating through the social channels. That's 2 billion people who are our potential prospects. And how do we know they're qualified to participate in our business, to use our technology? Well, we know that because they're there, and I think that's a unique differentiator. A lot of companies, Jake, produce products that if you're going to sell tires, you've got to go hit a target niche. You've got to find a person that needs tires for their car.
You know, what we have is we have the opportunity to literally take multitudes of business needs and pull them into under one roof and provide a service to them that they can use in many, many different ways. So I think it's a real exciting place to be.
Yeah, and so, you know, and I'm looking at this, and, you know, our demographic is huge. I mean, 2 billion people, to me, is just, it's massive. And just to get a small piece of that pie is just phenomenal. I mean, it's undescribable what you can do with, you know, with this business and you know, getting the tools out and being compensated for it. And I kind of want to go into the compensation model that we have for Income Out Loud and why we chose this type of model. I mean, we have a phenomenal tool, but why would you say that we took this type of model and paired it with the tool, with the compensation plan that we have?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a great question, and here's why is, if you think about sharing and creating a compensation plan where you can build a team, you can do team building, and you can go out and you can sell your product to customers who decide they want to participate in a team building opportunity, become a reseller of the product as affiliates, and now they can benefit from your knowledge. The very first thing that happens is you have a chance to transfer knowledge of that person. And then they can take the tools and the vehicle and they can duplicate that. So the replicatability is very, very powerful. Going with a plan where we're a 2-tier affiliate program on the internet does some wonderful things, because this program being a 2-up plan or a pass-up plan is really what this is called, where you have a second and a fourth, and then it continues and you're passing that up to your sponsor, creates a pretty unique opportunity. That's a driver, first of all, for people to go out and team build, but it's also a reward system that rewards you fairly for the work that you do. So you can't come in and get a free ride. But the power from that comes in our ability to target other people with the same interests and demographics and needs, and we can find those people in our social networks. So that's one of the reasons why the viral video sharing platform is so powerful, that goes across the social community, where we're able to track that link genealogy to bring them back and have somebody who sourced that original lead benefit from that and have that directly tied to them. The other thing is, imagine the power of leverage here. And if you guys, all of us know this as entrepreneurs. Somebody once told me, they said, you know the difference, Dave, between somebody who's self-employed and somebody who's an entrepreneur? And I thought about that, and I said, well, I don't know, aren't they the same? They said, no, they're not the same. Somebody who's self-employed has something that they do for themselves every day that they have to do over and over again, and if they quit doing that, then they will not be paid. And I started thinking a little bit about that. Well, I was self-employed as a real estate agent back in the days, as a broker when I grew my business. If I stopped going into work, my business stopped. I was self-employed. You know, in my mind, I was an entrepreneur, a business owner, I guess, maybe another indication for that. Well, if you think about the other side of that, if you're going to build an opportunity for yourself where you earn residual, now you don't have to be there to generate income. And that's a big, big departure from being self-employed. We want to be entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurship allows us to develop out in business models where we leverage our time. We can have companies where we hire employees, and those employees leverage our time. And as a result of that, you know, you can go do your golf week, or you can hop on the plane and take your week vacation. But you have to have your infrastructure in place as a business owner for you to be able to benefit from that residual. So you have to invest in that, and you have to have all of that happening. So that becomes a pretty big proposition for the majority of people. For the first time, you know, and I say first time within the last 10 to 20 years, we're in a business environment where we can make small investments in opportunities for us to develop out residual income, And we can do that at a very low risk tolerance. And we're trading a little bit of time, and we're getting educated, and we're in a space that will always help us. So I think that's a differentiator, Jake, for this. Is
Yeah.
I think that we're really, you really have to look at this in a way that there's a bigger picture and a huge opportunity to grow as this develops out.
Yeah, and you mentioned something important about leveraging yourself and leveraging your time. You know, there's so many hours in the day that one person can work. If I worked 1 hour a day, that's all I'm going to get back. It's just 1 hour's worth of work. But if I have a whole team, if I had 1,000 people on my team, and each person in that team worked 1 hour, we just worked 1,000 hours. And
right, that's right. And then you would have had to, if you were in a typical business environment, and you owned a furniture store, and you'd have to have customers coming in. You'd also have to staff with a bunch of resources and deliver that down. So you're able to do team building and effectively leverage yourself, which I keep telling people all the time. I've always said the highest rate of return you'll ever get on your time is investing in a business you're building on the internet that gives you the ability to replicate your efforts. You can't lose.
Yeah.
A lot of times you literally have to quit and not do it, and you lose. But that's always been the case with everything. If you quit, it's not going to work.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Now in Income Out Loud, we're looking for leaders. Okay, that's what we're looking for. People who understand this, understand leverage, who want to be team builders, to be able to just go out and just make it happen. What's one leadership principle that you could give to all of us tonight? I know you've been a leader and you've created massive amounts of money on the internet. I mean, what's one leadership principle that you would say is most important as it relates to being successful with IOL?
Well,
what's something you can share with us?
Jake, here's what I think is, first of all, everybody is a leader. Everybody has the potential to lead. So we're looking for people that have the potential to lead. And if you think about that, that means they have to have a willingness to learn. They have to have a desire to grow. And then I think integrity is a big part of that. And I think everyone will notice, and as we grow the business, we're really focusing on integrity. We want a great product represented. We do have policies and procedures, all those rules we got to follow, so we're in compliance, because those are the things that keep us in business, allow us to grow the company, create a stable opportunity. But when you talk about leadership in this type of a business will evolve. Somebody that comes in and may not have any leadership skills, if they work the business, will find that they'll be placed into a leadership position because they're developing out something that helps other people become successful. And there's a saying that J. Paul Getty, one of the previous billionaires, tycoons of the early 1900s, he said, he used to have a saying. He said, "I'd rather have 1% of 100 men's efforts than 100% of one man's effort." And what kind of parlays into that is that if you want to get back more than what you put out, you have to be able to provide a service to somebody, to enough people that will reward you back. So it's almost like you have to be able to engage in an activity where what you do helps hundreds of people to receive the value of that benefit back to you 100 times. So I think in this case that when you look at leadership, people that are stepping out and they're just saying each day, "I'm going to do this," and they're producing results from their activities and their actions, are the ones that are going to rise up and be leaders in this business and in this industry. And you guys need to know this. There's a whole lot of people that will take up your time talking to you about what they're going to do. "I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get ready, I'm going to do this. Oh, yeah, one of these days, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." And before you know it, a month goes by, 2 months goes by, 6 months goes by, and guess what? You check back in with those people, and they're still getting ready to do something. They're still talking, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get ready to do that. One of the things you can do individually today to start working on, A, building a great residual income, and B, creating some leadership opportunities for yourself, is simply to take action. If you take that action and you do those little steps and you keep doing them over and over again, you will absolutely see results from those efforts. And it's just those little steps that continue to make this thing become more and more successful for you. And it's just not what we're preaching. You know, Aaron and I, you guys will meet Aaron in the future, who's my brother and partner, and partners with Jake. Aaron and I worked on this technology for a couple of years and tested it with larger enterprise companies. We spent up late nights trying to solve problems, and long before we decided that this would be a fantastic tool to deliver through a program where we could compensate people for the efforts of selling and sharing rather than spending that money on large advertising budgets, because we could go out and raise, you know, millions of dollars in venture capital and do the traditional Silicon Valley approach and go drop $2 million on an ad campaign and try to attract users, or we could take that money and distribute it to the field and organically grow a company that's got a great product that people really want to represent. So that's what's so fantastic that we're seeing is when we look at the leadership that's evolving in the field, the things you're doing are wonderful things, and it's just the beginning. So that's exciting, Jake. I think there's no magic formula and one particular leader we're looking for. We're just looking for people that want an opportunity that they can really grow with and evolve into leaders.
And for the people on the call tonight and anybody listening to this call, would IOL be a company that I can be rest assured that will be around, and so a company that I can trust and that I should be able to build a business with?
Well, that's a great question, and you can never be sure of exactly what's going to happen in the future. And there's no guarantees, and there's no guarantees with anything. But what I do know is that if I'm out looking for a company I can join and develop and grow a future with on the internet, I want to look for a couple things. I'm looking for technology that works. I'm looking for a product that solves a problem, and I'm also looking for experience in the space. I also want to find a company that has has really a leadership within it, and as it develops, leadership that I can learn from and I can grow with. And I would probably say that there's a handful of companies that go from good to great, and then I think there's even a smaller handful of companies that go from good to spectacular. When we look at our long-term goals for IOL, what we see is a technology that can solve problems for business users, for individuals, and that as these opportunities evolve to solve these problems, we have a continued evolution of product enhancements. And I just see that this can be a spectacular company, not just a good company. And surely not something that hopefully is just wishful thinking. You know, we've done it. We've also taken, by the way, and some of you have noticed in our launch process, we've taken a strategic risk when we engaged with customers early on before we launched the company. And if you look at that approach from technologist standpoint, you'll hear companies say, well, you know, it's good for software companies to do that because they have to evolve quickly. But the risk is that your customers are going to not like the experience of the product, and that's going to be a huge downfall. In our case, we've had the opportunity to get feedback as we grow it, and it's been a huge success. And our commitment to the field is to continue to deliver on the product and the experience, and look for opportunities that we can make this better. You know, so that it is number one, the best opportunity that somebody can find out on the internet to grow a business.
hmm So yeah, and I think one of the icing on the cake, and I'm just going to kind of throw this in as we kind of close here, but I think one of the icing is on the cake, and John Chapman had mentioned this to me, and he said this. He said, people in network marketing come and go. I mean, they're all over the place. They'll be in one company here, and then they'll jump to another company 30 days later, and they're just kind of like little rabbits all over the place. But here's something that he said. Even if you get those people into Income Out Loud, even if they leave and go to a different company, well, guess what? They're not going to leave their tools behind. Because any company that those people go into in the future, they're going to take their tools right with them. And so if that person has signed up with you and you made that sell from that person, and they decide to one day leave and go to a different company, well, that's perfectly fine, because we're still providing those tools to that person, and we're still benefiting from that. So I think that's a really cool thing to think about when thinking about network marketing and what we can provide and be that tool for any business out there, any organization.
Well, super good point, Jake. It also is a testimony to the need for the product. And you bring up a real good point, and this is something most people don't get. If we understand this early on, this is really good information, and that is that any money that we invest on promoting ourselves or promoting our business on the Internet, if that's in the form of a link, if that's in the form of running an ad, if that's in the form of putting time into building a landing page and then having that sitting up on a URL on the website, anything we invest in our time and money is valuable for us. That's an asset. That's out on the web, and that's promotion, and that's branding that we can always keep. If I'm branding myself and I'm pushing out my marketing campaigns on a particular product or service, and I decide I'm going to switch companies and now I'm going to go represent another product, I've got the opportunity to retain those links, edit my capture pages, put my new messaging up, and I don't lose my organic indexing and search engines. I don't lose any relationships with current channels that I'm doing my marketing, and I'm not having to go completely throw away my links. And that's always been one of the drawbacks, to the replicated websites that Company X gives you, is you don't have the flexibility to retain your links, retain your IP. And we got to think about that like a personal investment in our own futures. So that's what's so powerful, too, about this, to your point, Jake. This technology can provide that service to all of these different companies and individuals representing them, and it's something that, you're right, it's a tool. You want to take it with you. It's something you're going to continue to use, what does that do for us as resellers? It broadens our market and allows us to be disruptive in a space that otherwise, we wouldn't be able to touch. And that makes us, that's a great spot to be for all of us that are promoting these products.
Absolutely. I mean, it's phenomenal to think about. And so just to kind of wrap this call up, we are recording this, so I want to be able to put this out to those who may not otherwise have the chance to hear this, because I think it's very important. I think it's also of having David on the call with the amount of experience that he has and the words that he shared with us, because it's super important that everybody be able to have access to this type of instruction that David has given us with his expertise. So, David, I appreciate you being on the call with us, and I hope those listening on this call really understood the principles that he's taught us. And if we implement these things, we're going to rise to the top. And we just need to put them in practice, keep it super simple, and stay focused on what we really want, and be educated. And if you're interested in being part of Income Out Loud, go ahead and join. I mean, just get set up, start using the tools, start promoting right away, whatever it is that you are promoting out there in the Internet land. But the important thing is to have the right tool to get the job done. And Income Out Loud is the company that will give you those tools to be able to get that job done. So I appreciate you, David. I appreciate everybody that's on this call tonight. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this up and call it a night. If, like I said, get back to the person that shared this with you, or if you're hearing this for the first time, get yourself joined and signed up into the company and start using it right away. So thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Jake.
Have a great night, and we will talk to you next week.
Okay. Good night, everybody.